Making headlines this hour, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz declares that a substantial improvement in the country's medicine availability will become evident within the next 2 months. Chief Government Spokesperson Mohammad Hussein Sharif says all right to information or RTI requests submitted to the President's office have been answered, except for matters exempt under the RTI Act. And Chief Government Spokesperson Mohammad Hussein Sharif says the number of customers seeking the Mala taxi line services is increasing. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil, and now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz extends his deepest condolences to Xi Jinping, President of China, following the devastating gas explosion that occurred at the Liu Xinyu coal mine in Shaanxi province. In an official message, President Muiz expressed profound sadness over the incident, which has claimed numerous lives and left many others injured. On behalf of the government and the people of the Maldives, President Muiz conveyed heartfelt sympathies to the bereaved families who have lost loved ones in this tragic event. The message emphasized the Maldives' unwavering support and solidarity with China during this period of profound grief and mourning. The president further wished strength and resilience to all those affected by the disaster, both the victims and the communities left to mourn their loss. Additionally, President Muiz expressed hope for the success of ongoing rescue and recovery efforts being carried out by Chinese authorities at the scene of the explosion. The blast at the Liu Xinyu shaft in Shaanxi province on Friday was the country's worst mining disaster in nearly 2 decades, with 247 workers underground at the time, authorities said. So far, 82 people have been confirmed dead. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz declares that a substantial improvement in the country's medicine availability will become evident within the next 2 months. The president made these remarks during his appearance at the Nation Chat with the President program, where he outlined an ambitious timeline for resolving the persistent medicine scarcity that has plagued the Maldives for years. Under his administration, a specialized state-owned enterprise has been tasked with fundamentally transforming how pharmaceutical products reach patients across the archipelago. The institutional framework for this pharmaceutical overhaul took shape last September when the government established the State Pharmaceutical and Medical Supply Corporation Limited. The state-owned entity was created with the explicit purpose of expanding the importation of medicinal drugs, medicinal consumables, and critical medical equipment throughout the Maldives. The corporation's founding mission centers on addressing what the president described as the suffering of citizens related to medicine shortages, moving beyond piecemeal solutions toward a comprehensive systemic approach. Since its establishment, the company has been implementing various strategic initiatives designed to eliminate bottlenecks in the pharmaceutical supply chain. One of the most significant operational developments involves the planned integration of all pharmacies under the State Pharma umbrella beginning next July. This consolidation will create a unified distribution network capable of responding more efficiently to national medicine needs while eliminating the fragmentation that has historically complicated inventory management. Alongside this structural change, the corporation is developing a sophisticated monitoring system that will track medicine stock levels across every pharmacy in the Maldives, enabling administrators to identify shortages before they impact patients and redistribute supplies from areas with surplus inventory to those facing scarcity. The operationalization of this Muizz's vision has already begun with tangible results. The corporation has successfully established its first dedicated pharmacy within the Indira Gandhi Memorial Hospital, or IGMH, creating a direct channel for sustainable medicine supply to the nation's primary healthcare facility. Additionally, the corporation has implemented a mechanism to import medicines that are currently unavailable in local pharmacies, ensuring that patients requiring specialized or less common medications no longer face the frustrating experience of searching endlessly for prescriptions that cannot be sourced domestically. To make this system more accessible to citizens throughout the scattered island nation, authorities have established multiple channels for requesting medicines. A dedicated telephone hotline, accessible through the easy-to-remember number 1505, allows any resident to place requests for medications they cannot find in their local pharmacies. Building on this foundation of telephone accessibility, the corporation is also introducing a digital component to its service model. The State Pharma Portal represents the government's entry into pharmaceutical e-commerce, creating an online platform where citizens can request medications, check availability, and track their orders through a modern digital interface. Chief Government Spokesperson Mohammad Hussein Sharif says all right to information or RTI requests submitted to the President's office have been answered, except for matters exempt under the RTI Act. He made these remarks during the latest session of the Presser with the Spokes series in response to a journalist's inquiry regarding the constitutional right to information. The spokesperson noted that the government is actively encouraging other ministries and state institutions to adopt a similar approach while providing them with the necessary assistance and resources to expedite responses to information requests. Furthermore, he stated that President Dr. Mohammad Muizz's vision is for the government to achieve 100% compliance under Section 37 of the Right to Information Act, which mandates the proactive disclosure of information by state authorities. During the session, the spokesperson also shared additional details regarding the impacts on the Maldives resulting from the ongoing conflict in the Middle East and the Gulf. In this regard, he highlighted the efforts of the Special Cabinet Committee, which is working to secure alternative cargo routes for the Maldives, as well as the adjustments made to supply chains from the UAE. These measures are part of preparations to mitigate potential commodity shortages resulting from shipping disruptions through the Strait of Hormuz. Chief Government Spokesperson Mohammad Hussein Sharif says the number of customers seeking the Male taxi line services is increasing. Private taxi services previously struggled to meet public demand. Some taxi drivers were reportedly refusing to take rides within Male, contributing to transport difficulties. In response, the government introduced the Male taxi line service on the 2nd of April this year. Speaking at the latest session of the Presser with the Spokes series, the spokesperson said the city has an exceptionally high number of vehicles relative to the Maldives' size. Therefore, authorities first removed outdated, damaged, and unusable vehicles from the city area before introducing the service, he said. The spokesperson said demand for the taxi service continues to rise since the introduction of the service. He added that the government is reviewing public feedback and considering improvements to the service. According to the Maldives Transport and Contracting Company, or MTCC, more than 13,000 trips were completed in the first month after the launch. The public has shared mixed opinions regarding the service, with both praise and suggestions for improvement. Around 150 environmentally friendly vehicles were introduced for the service. The fleet includes vehicles in 3 different sizes. The service can be accessed through a website and hotline. Chief Government Spokesperson Mohammad Hussein Sharif says Maldivian Airlines adds over 200 flights beyond its regular schedule to accommodate the surge in travelers during the upcoming Eid holidays. ramping up operations significantly as hundreds of passengers prepare to travel between islands to celebrate with their families during this peak festive period. The move comes as part of a coordinated effort to address the annual challenge of securing tickets during one of the busiest travel periods in the Maldivian calendar. At a press conference held as part of the Presser with the Spokes series, Hussein Sharif addressed concerns raised by journalists regarding the difficulty many citizens face in obtaining tickets during the Eid period. The spokesperson acknowledged that the increased traffic during Eid is a predictable annual phenomenon that the airlines prepare for well in advance. According to the figures presented at the press conference, a total of 1,277 flight movements have been scheduled from the 17th of May through the 2nd of June, covering the entire Eid holiday period. Of these movements, 1,014 fall within the airline's regular schedule, while the remaining 213 represent additional off-schedule flights specifically arranged to meet the heightened demand. The spokesman emphasized that Maldivian is providing this expanded service primarily as a general public service rather than a purely commercial enterprise. Hussein Sharif explained the reasoning behind this approach, noting the unique travel patterns that emerge during the holiday period. He illustrated this point by describing the imbalance in passenger loads between different routes, particularly highlighting that flights from Male to Addu City are consistently full during the holidays, while return flights often carry significant fewer passengers until subsequent departures also reach capacity. The national airline's projections indicate that 1 in 5 flights during this period represents an increase compared to normal operating months. Despite this substantial expansion, Hussein Sharif noted that the current number of flights cannot be increased further. The airline estimates that it will sell around 64,000 seats during the Eid holiday period alone, with the demand continuing to grow year after year even as the carrier operates at full capacity. The government is responding to this sustained growth in domestic travel demand by establishing regional transport networks to strengthen the domestic transport system further. These networks will operate within designated provinces and will utilize Twin Otter aircraft specifically designed for seaplane operations. The service has already been launched in the southern region, with plans to expand connectivity across other atolls in the coming months. The Maldives Pension Administration Office, or MPAO, announces the appointment of Abdul Majid Ali as the new chairperson of its board of directors, succeeding Ahmad Inaz, who recently resigned from the position. Majid, who has served as a board member representing the private sector since March of last year, officially assumed the chairmanship on the 21st of May, bringing with him over 2 decades of experience in banking, finance, and auditing. The newly appointed chairman brings a distinguished professional background to the role. He operates a registered audit company that provides audit and financial consultancy services to clients across the private sector. Prior to establishing his own practice, Majid accumulated substantial expertise during his tenure at Bank of Maldives and Bank of Ceylon, where he developed his foundational knowledge in banking operations and financial management. His public service credentials are equally impressive. Majid previously served as a board member of the Capital Market Development Authority, where he contributed to the authority's governance as a member of its Audit and Risk Committee. The MPAO highlighted his significant contributions to private sector development within the financial sector as a key factor in his selection for the leadership position. In terms of academic credentials, Majid holds a Master of Science degree in International Economics, Banking and Finance from Cardiff University in Wales. The leadership transition extends beyond the chairmanship. With Majid's elevation to the chairman's role, the Pension Office has also appointed Yamin Idris to fill the vacancy created on the board. He brings considerable executive experience to the position, having served as the managing director of the Hajj Corporation before his appointment. The government extends the application deadline for land and flats under the Housing for All policy. The new deadline is the 15th of July at 11:59 p.m. According to the Ministry of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, the extension was made in response to public concerns as many applicants are traveling during Eid holidays. The government closure during this period may also delay access to documents required for applications. The ministry reminded applicants to ensure forms are correctly completed and all required documents are submitted through the official portal and to ensure application submission process is fully completed. The scheme offers 15,000 plots of land and 7,900 housing units with separate categories for residents of Male and individuals from other islands currently living in the capital. While 4,000 flats are reserved for Male residents, 1,500 are for people from other islands. A total of 2,400 flats have been allocated under specific categories for city residents and special groups. Maldives Correctional Service, or MCS, conducts a medical camp for prisoners and detainees at Aseri Prison. The camp was organized in collaboration with Hulumale Hospital. Specialized doctors involved in the camp included an internal medicine doctor, an orthopedic specialist, and a general surgeon. A total of 41 prisoners and detainees received medical consultations during the camp. The camp aimed to provide specialist health care for inmates who require specialist referrals. MCS is working with external health providers to treat conditions that cannot be managed inside prisons. Similar medical camps are expected to be held in the future. Insights into business. Mexico and the European Union signs a long-stalled free trade agreement as they seek to decrease dependence on the U.S. and partially insulate themselves from U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. The accord, which they reached broad agreement on in 2025 but have delayed signing, expands a Mexico-EU trade accord from 2000 which covered only industrial goods. The new pact adds services, government procurement, digital trade, investment, and farm produce. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and European Council President Antonio Costa are to sign the deal in Mexico City in their first summit in over a decade. Both sides want to diversify their exports away from the U.S. Mexico's economy ministry estimates the new agreement would increase Mexican exports to the EU from around $24 billion a year to $36 billion by 2030. The EU exports around $65 billion in goods annually to Mexico. Trade between Mexico and the EU has increased 75% in a decade, dominated by transport equipment, machinery, chemicals, fuels, and mining products. The new deal provides duty-free access for almost all goods, including farm products such as Mexican chicken and asparagus and European milk powder, cheese, and pork, albeit with some quotas. While the updated trade deal has been ready, it has taken over a year to sign. The EU prioritized a free trade agreement with the South American bloc Mercosur, and it concluded free trade negotiations with Indonesia, India, and Australia in the past 8 months. Mexico, meanwhile, has been cautious about taking steps that could anger the Trump administration during sensitive negotiations to extend the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Trade Pact. More than 80% of Mexico's exports currently go to the U.S. In the EU, the trade deal will be voted on by the European Parliament, which is likely to approve it within a few months. Updates on international events. The American Secret Service says officers shot a suspect who fired at a White House checkpoint, who then died after being taken to the hospital. According to a Secret Service statement posted on social media, a person approached the checkpoint at 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue near the White House, pulled a gun out of his bag, and started shooting at officers. The agency said officers returned fire and shot the suspect. A bystander was also struck by gunfire, but it was not clear how badly the person was hurt, according to a separate Secret Service statement cited by multiple news outlets. The statement said it was not clear who fired the shot that hit the bystander. The shooting suspect was identified as an emotionally disturbed person, a law enforcement official told Reuters, adding that a stay-away order has been issued to him previously. The Secret Service said no law enforcement personnel were injured. They also confirmed President Donald Trump was at the White House during the incident. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko says one person was killed and more than 20 others were injured in an overnight Russian attack on Kyiv. Ukraine's national police said Russian forces carried out a large-scale assault on Kyiv with ballistic missiles and attack drones, causing damage across multiple districts of the city. Klitschko said residential buildings, administrative facilities, and parked cars were damaged in the attack. The attack came a day after President Volodymyr Zelensky, citing intelligence reports, warned that Russia appeared to be preparing a combined strike against Ukraine, particularly Kyiv, using various types of weapons, including the Oreshnik ballistic missile. With prior authorization from the Venezuelan government, U.S. military personnel conducts an unusual military drill in Caracas, extending to their diplomatic headquarters in the city. The commander of U.S. Southern Command, General Francis L. Donovan, was among those who attended. This is the first military exercise conducted by the United States on Venezuelan territory since the 3rd of January, when troops sent by President Donald Trump stormed Caracas and captured then-President Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores in an operation that left at least 100 dead. 2 MV-22B Osprey aircraft and vessels that entered Venezuelan waters in the Caribbean Sea participated in the exercise. The embassy said that Donovan was in Caracas on his second official visit, observed the exercise, and participated in bilateral talks with senior representatives of Venezuela's interim government, in addition to holding meetings at the embassy. The Venezuelan government said this week that it authorized, at the request of the U.S. Embassy, an evacuation drill in the events of medical emergencies or catastrophic contingencies. The drill also sparked a protest attended by supporters of Chavismo, a political ideology that emerged in Venezuela inspired by the ideals of late leader Hugo Chavez, who opposed seeing U.S. forces conducting military exercises in their country. Moving on to sports, Manchester United midfielder Bruno Fernandes is named the Premier League Player of the Season after guiding his club to the 3rd place in the standings while equaling the league's assists record. Fernandes tied the league record of 20 assists, jointly held by former Arsenal striker Thierry Henry and ex-Manchester City playmaker Kevin De Bruyne. The Portugal international also scored 8 goals as United secured a 3rd-place finish to qualify for the Champions League. The 31-year-old was nominated alongside Arsenal's title-winning trio of Gabriel, David Raya, and Declan Rice, Manchester City duo Erling Haaland and Antoine Semenyo, Nottingham Forest midfielder Morgan Gibbs-White, and Brentford striker Igor Thiago. Fernandes emerged as the Premier League's best playmaker this season when he created a league-high 132 chances. The next best player was Liverpool's Dominic Szoboszlai, who created 89 chances. Fernandes was named the Football Writers Association Men's Player of the Year earlier this month, while he also picked up the club's Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year honor for the 5th time. He has the opportunity to make the Premier League assists record his own on Sunday when United travel to Brighton and Hove Albion for the final game of the season. Concluding with news and entertainment, crowds gather at the Aerospace Museum, or MUSEL, in Rio de Janeiro's Campos dos Afonsos for the annual MUSEL Air Show, the largest of its kind in the state of Rio de Janeiro. The free event, promoted by the Brazilian Air Force, or FAB, featured high-performance aerial demonstrations by the renowned Smoke Squadron, alongside exhibitions of over 100 historical and modern aircraft. Footage showed attendees dazzled by the spectacle, with families and aviation enthusiasts alike marveling at the displays of aeronautical skill and technology. The air show, which also includes interactive activities and a food donation drive, continues to draw large crowds as a celebration of Brazil's rich aviation heritage and aerospace culture. And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from TSM News.